Thanks. Thank you, Bob. And I also want to thank the Center for Civic Education, notably Bob Lemming, and then also Rebecca Reeder for their tireless efforts to bring our keynote speaker, the 2018 Miss America, Cara Mund, to us. In 2010, before I crossed the line into administration, I had the privilege of teaching. I first met Cara as she was entering her senior year of high school. As a student in my We the People class, I was aware that she was involved in pageants, but I knew more about her involvement in the Make-A-Wish Foundation, where she was focusing her efforts on a very noble cause to help kids. To date, she has raised more than $78,000 and granted wishes to 23 kids. As we worked together in our class, my initial impressions of her was a very bright, inquisitive, compassionate, and persistent student. And that only grew, and my ideas were only grew and were only confirmed as she was admitted to Brown University, and now she's been admitted into Notre Dame, Georgetown, Columbia, among other law schools. She was the kind of student. She was the kind of student every teacher dreams of having in class, because she likely has some of the same characteristics that most of you have. Cara's Unit 6 scored the most points on the first 2 days for Team North Dakota, and while this is a competitive event, I want you to remember something that Cara embodies. It is more about the process. Cara always wanted to know more. She wanted to be a better student, writer, thinker, and ultimately citizen. While she is Miss America and an incredibly beautiful young woman, her true beauty comes from her heart and her mind. While most of you may not follow her path and become Miss America, you may follow Cara. Well, but you may follow Cara in her undying zeal to help others, to be an educated citizen, to serve your communities, and to one day be the kind of leader our nation needs. Please join me in welcoming Cara Mund, Miss America 2018 and a 2011 national competitor. I'm so very proud of you.
Well, it is such an honor to be back. I never expected to get to come back and also to ever be Miss America. It's all about the process, and that's definitely what this speech is going to be about and how we got there. And so I came from Bismarck, North Dakota, a fairly small town compared to many of my peers at Brown University or those that competed at Miss America. And I had a family of lawyers and judges, and I remember I was 6 years old, and at Christmas they would all sit there and just argue with one another about the Constitution, about court cases, whatever it was. And I knew at that Christmas I would never become a lawyer. I said, there's no way, all this is about arguing. But I soon realized later that it's much more than that. It's about guaranteeing rights. It's about making sure that everyone's voice is heard. It's about doing what is right in our society and making sure that we live up to those ideals that we were founded upon. And when I was, going through school, I all of a sudden came up with this dream, right? I was a big dreamer, and I wanted to go to an Ivy League school. And it wasn't necessarily the name, but the fact that it was a goal that I saw so far out of view that was something to strive for. And I knew that if I never got in, that it would be okay, but that I would have tried. And that's kind of my motto in life, is to make sure that you always try, because you never want to know what if. And when I came to Century High School, I knew, okay, I need to do 4 years of a foreign language. I need to be involved in as many extracurriculars as possible. I need to take as many AP courses as I can have on my plate. So something that most of you have probably done. And I remember walking into my senior year, and I was thinking, oh, AP Gov, and just another one off the checklist. But it was so much more than that to me. I went through the first few months and I realized how difficult this is. We learned about We the People and about competing, and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going right into the family roots of, wanting to advocate for those that aren't necessarily being heard. And I remember, the hours that you put into this process. I was a Unit 6 member, so where's my Unit 6? Yes. And then we had someone drop out from Unit 1, so I moved over to Unit 1 too. So where's our Unit 1? Yes. But it's all about the process, and it wasn't necessarily, the competition was huge, and it was a big deal to us, but it was how we got there, and the ideals that we learned, the critical thinking. You've been tested with skills that you haven't been tested in other classes. These are things that are going to take you on, and you're going to be able to apply later. And so I remember when I finally got into Brown University, I brought in the letter to my AP Gov class, and I realized that it was, those critical thinking skills that probably helped me get there. And I got to Brown University, and, I'm sure many of you have had this feeling before, maybe even here at the competition. I often felt like I was probably not the smartest person in the room. And I kept questioning, why was it that I got here? What were the things that I did? And I realized that it really was the hard work and the determination. It's not necessarily, being granted the smartest person in the room, but working for it and making sure you really understand. And all of you have done that. The hours, the, weekends that you put into being prepared for this, it's really going to pay off. And what I realized is, going back in high school, all those other AP classes were just AP classes. But the preparation that you did for this is not. And so, I was always driven, and I had this goal of becoming Miss North Dakota. And what I realized, I think, was part of it was serving as a representation, having a platform and having a voice. What other job at 24 years old allows me to travel across the country and speak about what it is that I'm passionate about, or talk about our generation and how we're going to be the one to fill different gaps, whether it be the age gap, the gender gap in our Congress, whatever it is. And, I got to Miss America, and I just never thought that I would get to be Miss America. My goal was to make the top 10. Our state had only ever had 3 women. And I knew that I was well prepared, and I knew I embodied these qualities of a Miss America because I was well educated. I did have those critical thinking skills that I learned here, but I just never thought that it would be me. And the night that I was crowned Miss America, it was a win for my entire state and all of those that got me there. And that's something that I really want you to take away from this, is that, yes, this is an accomplishment for you, and you're going to have these amazing skills that you walk out of this experience with. But I want you to think of all of the work that your teachers did, that your parents did, to make sure that you were here. It's a huge honor to get to represent your state and to be your state champions and your national champions. And really, this is just a launching pad for what comes next for many of you. I talked, and some of you said you're seniors, juniors, whatever age it is. But it's so important to, I say the biggest investment you can make is in your education. And many of you have those high educational goals. And you need to take that and spread it across our nation, because you are the future leaders, and you're the ones that are going to stand up for what is right when others don't. You're the ones that are going to, push what's constitutionally right. You're the ones that are going to represent our generation. And so never, never forget that. And you may not become a Miss America or whatever it is, because I didn't think I would. But you are a representation of your state, of your school, of our generation, of your gender, whatever it is. And you have a voice that is so powerful. And so never be afraid to use it. And if you're not an award winner tonight, because we never won a national award, you do have this impact that's going to go far beyond this. I'm very grateful to be Miss America, but I'm also so grateful to come back and to speak to all of you, because I was just in your shoes a few years ago. and you never know where you're going to go next. So take this experience, take the lessons, the challenges, all those nerves that you had, and really apply them. And people say all the time, as Miss America, you know, what was it? How did you prepare? And it's interesting because many contestants, they have their set responses. We get asked controversial issues all the time at Miss America. I was asked about same-sex marriage in my interview. My onstage question was on Trump's decision to pull out of the Paris Accord. I was asked all of these issues that matter right now and that our generation's going to have to fix. And many of the other contestants had these set responses of how it was that they thought they should answer the question. And people ask all the time, what do you think it is that put you over the top and made you Miss America? And I think it was that critical thinking skill. Being able to think on your feet because you are educated, because you know how the history of our past, how it's impacting our present, and how you're going to change our future. So use these skills, enjoy the experience. If you're not an award winner, in my eyes, you all have won because you're here and you represented your state. Thank you so much.